So I'll start by saying that it's just been such a pleasure working with iVentiv. I feel very fortunate. So the first time I came to an iVentiv event was pure chance. My boss couldn't make it, and she asked if I was able to take her spot. And being the learning junkie that I am, I said, of course. And I think I was expecting something very different. And I was just so pleasantly surprised by everything. Um, and I think, and maybe what surprised me the most is the humanity. That's the word that's coming to me. It's the, from the emails from the very beginning through the program, through after the program, the follow-up, everything is, of course, professional, of course, respectful, all the things that you would expect to have, but also so human and so connecting. And yeah, I think a place where you feel comfortable and can grow. I don't think I anticipated bringing a difficulty, that was, something that was happening at work and was a challenge for me. I didn't anticipate sharing, and I did. And the feedback and the thoughts were just, priceless. QX is a consulting firm. We do leadership development, organizational development, team effectiveness. We've got a good number of keynote speakers, doing a lot of work in the field of AI lately as well. And what makes us different is, first, we have 83 consultants, coaches, deans, professors from academia. So everybody comes from a leadership role. So that's already different, either in academia or in prominent organizations. And yeah, we're across the globe. So it's really nice for global organizations. You're literally getting, the QX team is working with your team and delivering the same thing in multiple places. And, saving T&E on folks is never a bad thing. What's another thing that makes us different is how we work or how we operate. And so we're a consulting firm, but versus other organizations so I used to have leadership roles at Citi and at IBM, and I'd go and I'd meet with the vendor, one of the bigger organizations who are fantastic and fabulous. And I'd, shake the hand with the vendor. I'd be like, okay, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to work with you, and how wonderful. And I signed the agreement, and then, everything goes great. And 2 weeks later, you get these other people from the organization, not people that you signed with. And then you kind of lose the brains, the skills, the experience, everything that you were hoping for. So at UX, it's completely different. We meet with our clients. We get a sense around what they need. Then we look at the skills in our portfolio, and we recommend a few people. And then you get the chance to pick. So you pick and choose your dream team for your project, for however short or long you want it to be. Everybody, folks that have been in your shoes in one way or another, understand stakeholder management, and can be really this augmentation of your team for as long as you need. It could be an hour, it could be a year. Yeah, whatever makes sense. We're actually approaching 3 years. As UX is celebrating 3 years at the end of this month, we're approaching 3 years with one of our clients as well. So that's how we operate. And where we operate is where we have interventions. I'm going to quote Professor Sharma from MIT. And so we operate on everything from the ecosystem, from individuals. How do we help people become better leaders, become better executives, to team effectiveness, team processes, to organizational ecosystem, and then even also looking beyond the organization, trends, what's happening externally in the environment. So ecosystem to ecosystem is where we operate. And most of our work is leadership development, executive development, lots of rotational programs, which is surprising, and executive coaching. And yeah, as I mentioned before, some very interesting keynotes. The learning function is so busy so often with what's happening internally. And in one of the breakout sessions at iVentiv in March, just hearing people talking about this, the metaphor of learning being on the membrane of a cell. So the cell's the organization, and learning is right at the edge there. You can see what's happening externally, and you're the one deciding what to bring in to the mitochondria, the powerhouse, the part that creates that energy for the cell. And so and then energy, I'm saying, like a metaphor for learning. And so while you're sitting there, you can sit completely facing inward, and just bring in what you've always brought in, or just a continuation. Or you can really take a close look, because the changes just in ChatGPT, just in Perplexity, just in Gemini, all these tools that we have, the progress is so quickly, the movement is so fast. If we continue looking only internally, we're not going to be part of the full body. We're just going to be that cell separate. And so the responsibility of learning is to bring in things. And yes, because it's so fast, we're going to bring things in that might not necessarily be the best fit. But we have to experiment, just like the business is experimenting. And failure needs to be defined as whatever that is for each organization and what's acceptable. But yes, we have to bring in new things, try out new things. If something works, provides great energy, great, let's bring more of that. If it doesn't, cool, close the doors, you're not coming in the membrane again. But yeah, just that image of learning professionals sitting on the membrane of the organization, being able to see inside and outside and making those decisions. It's a critical position to be in versus just kind of a gear, inside this machine. It's a big role. For OD, I think of OD as the organizational doctor that can analyze, that can intervene, provide, prescriptions or whatever it is, and then measure the impact. Now, some organizations, and I've seen this mostly in pharma, do a fabulous job with this. Their OD team is working 24/7, doing extremely important work strategically. It also includes, org design. Like it's everything from team effectiveness to org design to operating system. It's so many things. And I think many organizations are still not using it as they should. It's almost like, one organization might treat it as oh, it's just a dentist. It isn't just a dentist. It's everything. So it's beautiful and it's critical for, maintaining the body so the body can go do whatever the strategy is. So as it relates to leadership development, it's hard to know what the future is going to bring, of course. My wish for our field is to become more experiential, to have something that leaves a mark on you, that imprint, and now you're slightly different. And in order to do that, it's usually not right? Classroom, learner model, that kind of thing, set workbook. I think experience can be so many different things, but it can even start just with visual language, visual cues. For organizations that don't want to, take it too far, or they're more traditional. It could start with, why don't we sit in a circle instead of a classroom, like, or round tables, as we often do. It could be whatever it is. We have clients who are quite traditional, and we bring it in one way, and then we have clients who are, so happy to do anything, and we create installments that look like art and they react to, and it's always tied to something meaningful. So that's kind of my wish. The second thing, and probably related to it, is, and I think this was the head of HR at IBM at the time, when I was there. She asked me, I believe it was her, she asked me, if you could do anything with the senior executive level, what would it be? And my answer is the same for roughly all organizations, especially those who have been around for a while, though, is I wish we could take them to another organization, put each one in a different place for a year. It's, how do we get to that? Because we get slowly but surely to, this is how the organization works. I know it well. This is how we're going to get things done. And once you take someone out of their comfort zone, right, and put them in a place where, I don't want to say stretch assignments, because it sounds too, I don't know, in an environment where, wait a minute, what I'm doing now, or what I used to do, isn't working here. And it's that humble place of relearning. So it requires unlearning and relearning. And then when you come back, you have all these other ways of looking at things. You have this curiosity. You have this, what if we actually did it this way? So that's what I hope. I hope, so A, I hope it's more experiential. B, would be nice if part of this was some kind of secondments, or it could be any type of experience where you feel safe enough to be vulnerable and come out different. Mm-hmm. Learn something new, come out different. And now the third thing is, so you have a program, it's happening, let's say it's, in person. I think it would be a gift if we could treat it like trial and error and creating new habits space. So Chris Rock, I know there's the slap and all of that, but there's this great story that I heard about him, which I think is worth sharing. So Chris Rock says goodbye to SNL, and it's some kind of mutual agreement. Some say potentially he was fired. Whatever it is, they separate. And he, gets very depressed, can't figure out what's next for him. And he ends up bringing this group of 5 very diverse people together to constantly, share stories, learn from them. I think he had like a priest and a drug dealer, like completely opposite things. And then he goes and he tries new materials every day. He has 2 shows, and every day in these little small places across the US, and every day he fails miserably. Tries new stuff, fails. 2 years later, he emerges with Bring the Pain, I think it's called, and he wins all these awards. It's that, if we can create that, we don't have 2 years, but if we can create in a specific amount of time, a place where people are humble enough to try new things, very new things, a place where they're safe enough to fail, and a place where they can try new habits so that next time they encounter these situations, they can pick a different habit, a new habit that comes up. That in itself is incredible growth. And that little lab, or whatever we want to call it, that transformation, that's a gift that we can give as leadership development. I was in my corporate role and feeling hungry for learning, hungry for development, hungry for something that I didn't necessarily knew what it was. It's almost like the Tia 2.0, or if we think of, ChatGPT now with its 4.5, whatever it is, it was the next version that was kind of waiting to emerge. And so I was getting all these certifications and considering getting a PhD, seriously considering going back to school. And then it kind of hit me that the growth I was looking for was vertical growth. And so that requires doing stuff you're not comfortable doing usually. And so I decided to go to the Hudson Institute and get a coaching certification there. I'm not a great coach. I definitely was not good before. Now, I think I'm a good coach, but more than anything, I know to spot fabulous coaches. Like, it's the art and the science of it. It's just beautiful. So when we finished the program, and this is almost a year, I was sitting there with my small peer coaching group from the program, and one by one, people are excited to become coaches, but really concerned about building a business. What does that look like? How do I do it? And I was exactly the opposite. Really nervous about becoming potentially a coach and leaving corporate life and becoming a coach, but very excited about building. And that's when I was like, wait a minute, let's work together. So that's where it started. And with iVentiv, so we're 3 years at UX full time, and iVentiv has been a year and a half. And iVentiv has always been like my home for learning. So as a growth, that person who's so hungry, it's a place for me to used to be as a delegate. Of course, as you're approaching, as you're coming and like you're getting into the room and there's all these people and you want to have this great presentation, and by the time you're having dinner, you learn all these amazing, beautiful human stories about people. And that's the space where you can really learn. And so having had iVentiv as I want to say like my second learning home, that's the place that felt so right for us to come as an organization in order to do business development like this. And so it's been a year and a half, I think, since our last session, and since our first session in October 23. And yeah, we've done 3 so far, and I'm hoping, to have many, many more. When I created UX, people said, oh, Tia, how big do you want it to be? Do you want to compete with like Corn Ferry or BTS or, all these other amazing, wonderful companies? And I said, well, how big isn't even interesting to me. It's not what I'm looking for. Success for me is good people coming together to do good work with great organizations. That's it. And so iVentiv is exactly that equation. It's good people. Everybody I met at iVentiv is wonderful and warm and thoughtful and egoless. I hope that makes sense. And so the people are great. The work is great. And the organizations I get exposure to are fantastic. So it exactly fits with the brand, with what we're hoping to do. Yeah, it's pretty perfect. It would have been so easy for iVentiv to be another networking event where we still have our nice work masks and trying to, I don't know, like almost like going to the gym and like flexing muscles, which is totally natural and everybody does it, of course. Not at the gym, but at work, I mean, the metaphor. Um, and so it really is an art to create that environment in a way that isn't, let's kumbaya straight from the get-go and get the resistance, but rather let's put you into a scenario where you feel comfortable. You can still, present yourself as any way you want throughout, but we're going to create these, little things. Even let's organize the room in a certain way. Even the way, I want to say the way you speak, right? Like everybody kind of has the same approach, the care from each person. So it's the agenda, it's the structure, it's the people you put in the front of the room. If the person in front of the room, right, facilitating, who is kind of one of us, speaking as a delegate, former delegate, if the person from the front of the room was, oh, look at me, I'm so wonderful, and think all these great things about me, which, I mean, I actually do of everybody that you brought in, but it's not because of a certain way of them presenting themselves. It's more because of the authenticity and well, let's do this together. Let's figure it out together. Let's ask the tough questions. We're new, right? We're almost at 3 years. It's really difficult to, and I'm thinking now as, a former leader in this space, if a new organization would come to me saying, hey, hire us, and let's say I do like them, and let's say I do like the people I'm going to work with, it's such a hard sell internally because there isn't that brand recognition, there isn't that name. So there's kind of those two things that are standing in our way, and yeah, it's tricky. And what iVentiv has been able to do for us is create that brand recognition, and not by bombarding people's LinkedIn, with ads or anything like that, but by creating relationships and establishing a rapport and trust. It's way more impactful. And it took some time. I'll be honest, it did take some time. Some organizations immediately, already from the first session, were interested, and others it took time. The last one, which was our third in March, I mean, I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the call, right? That my last 2 weeks have been very busy. And that's all business from iVentiv. So yes, there's a big, definitely a big influence that iVentiv has had on our growth and development, and strategically how we think about things. We have come to the last 2 sessions with these four off-the-shelf offerings. One is your typical leadership development program. Another is AI enablement. So, bringing strategists to think how to embed in the organization, what roles do we need, AI university. So we have all of that. Then we have HR upskilling. And the final was a mini MBA program. So these 4 kind of plug and play, off the shelf, which we worked hard on. But as we were meeting people at iVentiv, the past 2 events, we realized that there wasn't really much interest with in these off the shelf products. And so I'd rather know early versus continue investing in it and finessing and making it perfect. If there's no interest, there's no interest. That's totally fine. And I feel grateful for the feedback in some ways for that. And yeah, when it comes to AI, I mean, I'm so hungry for AI things and hungry from, multiple perspectives. Of course, eyes wide open to ethics and any issues that could come. But I was speaking with Professor Lynn Wu from Wharton, who's a UXer herself, and she was saying, she was talking to me today about how she created GPT of herself and, the benefits that provided. And so I created one of myself. Her name is Tina. So Tina, kind of how the Starbucks folks used to call me when they, would write the name. And that's great. But as you go to iVentiv, it's great to present these things, but I also learn where are different organizations as it relates to AI? Where are people hungry? Where, if I say a GPT of myself, people would be like, "Oh my gosh, this is awful," which is totally understandable. But yeah, another thing that it did impact for us is we have a non-revenue generating arm, which is dedicated to research. And that's, in alignment with, I think, all of us in the organization. We're so curious. So dedicating resources to really looking at the things that are most critical for our community is something that, just comes so naturally to us. And so we produce studies, cases that we think will be useful. And one of the things that I've been working on lately with Lindsay from our team, with actually Rami Tafrir from Hi Bob, that's one of our partners and clients, and with Steve Lindia from our team is on covering. And covering is that extent that you feel you need to hide or downplay parts of who you are in order to fit at work, in order to be perceived as promotable. And that's a topic that I've definitely always been passionate about. But as I met with folks at iVentiv and we hear the conversations, especially now with the climate around DEI, there's this real, so if it's not DEI, what is it? And so that really brought covering to the forefront because covering touches us all. We all do it to some extent. And it has a real impact through our study of over 2,000 people. We see that it has a real impact on productivity, creativity, effectiveness, and bottom line. So iVentiv has shaped our offerings and it has shaped our research and what we look at and, ultimately also are passionate about. I would say to vendors to come as a participant as much as possible. Don't send your best salesperson. Send your most curious, wanting to learn. Doesn't have to be a learning leadership development SME. Just a curious person who loves to learn and be with other people. There's something really nice at iVentiv, which I think is, I don't know, that we talk about it that often, but there's this emergence. So everybody comes with kind of their knowledge, and then something new emerges. And as a vendor, if you're with everybody else, you notice the emergence. You can take part in it. And it's almost, I would say, if you can take away the utilitarian piece of it, the I'm here to make money or not make money, I'm here to find people who will invest in the company and the products. If you can take that away and just be, the magic happens in the relationships, in the content, in the growth together. So that would be my recommendation. And the relationships are, last time we had, we were completely booked with one-on-ones. But Rachel Mooney and I, she's fabulous. I love her. We both are such learners, and we ended up having, yes, complete, back-to-back meetings, everything, that was scheduled, everything happened beautifully. And then so many others, just people coming and approaching us and wanting to have one-on-ones during lunch. I don't think we had any breaks. And so it was wonderful. And I think it's that, that come and be one with, and it does require some level of vulnerability and some level of saying, yeah, I don't have all the answers. And it is scary as someone who's a salesperson. But I think that both delegates and vendors just almost tapping into, I don't know, like a deeper, curious, non-utilitarian part of you is what makes it happen.